Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Lauren Najar with us. She is a business coach and a marketing agency owner who helps small businesses grow and scale through simplified marketing strategies. She's also a host of Business Over Cocktails and hosts retreats and intimate dinners for women business owners across the US. She is a mom, a wife, a dog mom, and someone who really believes why not you. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat. What we're going to
Me
chat
too.
about.
I know. Last time we talked, we had such an awesome conversation. We felt like
Mhm.
we should just have recorded the initial chat, right? Um,
Totally.
I'm excited for our audience to get to know you because you have such a cool story. So take us through it. How'd you get here, and where are you now?
So, this is going to be a super long story short, right? So,
Oh, that's good.
uh, I totally was wanting a career in, the finance world, being super stressed out in my job, but that equated money to me. So I wanted
Mhm.
to pursue a career that way. I went to school for finance, but I thought of things like being a day trader or just starting my own, trading firm. In college, still pursued banking and was in banking for a while. And when I was in college, both my parents passed away within a year and a half of each other. And about 11 months after my dad passed away, I was diagnosed with cancer. And then I relapsed 6 months after I was in remission. So I actually had it twice. And so what what was more of like a dream to, like live in a big city and have a lot of material things and make a lot of money, really kind of like reset everything for me by going through those events. And I really spent some time not, not that I wasn't pursuing anything. I was trying to spend time to really find what really fulfilled me. And I noticed that I just wanted, I think fulfillment was what originally wanted to go for. So entrepreneurship, I think, ended up being that thing because, it wasn't from a moment of like, I never really like, yes, I respected authority. I was always a good employee, but I really liked the idea of freedom and really enjoying my life. And so that kind of led me to on this path to find what really fulfilled me. And so I started blogging and then really quickly realized that that's not a lot of money. There's not a lot of money in blogging. And I mean, it takes a while. I'm sure you can make money still. It's not as prevalent as it was, 10 years ago. But I ended up being a social media manager for just like a second and then realized that I loved finance. I loved sales. I love selling. It's just weird to say. I do it in a very unique way, I would promise. But then that led me to business coaching. I was already a coach in my banking world. I was teaching people how to sell effectively and make their goals and things like that too. So it kind of was like a natural fit. Like, not only did I know marketing within the social media world, but I had a finance background, a very heavy sales background. So business coaching kind of was the perfect fit. And here I am 7.5 years later.
That's incredible. Just to get through those, gosh, not only the life hurdles that most of us have not experienced, and won't experience, especially in such quick succession. I'm so sorry you went through that. And then to face health challenges, and then to make it through the hurdles of 7 years, 7.5 years in business. Wow. I have to say, I have so much respect for the strength that must have taken.
Thank you so much. That I really appreciate that. I think as I get older, I realize that. I'm going to be 39 this year, so I went through all of that when I was, between the ages of 21 and 25.
Wow.
And looking at 21-year-olds now or 23-year-olds now, I realize like those are babies. And at the time when I was going through it, I never really realized all of that. And now I think the older I get, the harder it hits in sometimes, but the more I realize how much how much that is. And I love what you said too, because I think that also is lost on me, where people actually won't experience those things possibly in life. And that's something I have to remind myself of too. However, it's kind of weird to say, right? Like, you're thankful for those things, but you also wish your parents were here and you didn't have cancer, right? But it would never
Yeah.
have led me to meeting my husband. I have a 2.5-year old now. And I wouldn't have started my business. My life would be completely different. So I am grateful that kind of like really bumped me off of a path where I think I was just wanting to work and be materialistic in a way, where I think now I chase more of an impact. Like, I still love, like, I think there's always a part of me, and it kind of came full circle, where I love the sales, I love selling, I love the numbers. There's always an adrenaline rush. However, that's not as important anymore, where I think I was always just driven by perfection
Mm.
before.
That makes so much sense. And I mean, again, it's really is a testament to you, because it would be understandable to go in a different direction, right? It would be understandable, and there would be nothing wrong with, you know, choosing to, being able to choose a different path. And yeah, and I also think there's nothing wrong with money being part of it anyway, or sales
Mhm.
being a part of it, or the rush being a part of it. It's part of being alive, right? Why not? You should
Mhm.
have it all.
Yeah, I love that you said that too, because I think, again, that took me a while to like become accustomed to, but I think how I think about it is more money equals more impact for me. I'm
Yes.
able to help more people the more money I make. And I've always kind of I love gift giving. Like, that's a huge thing for me. Like, I love
Yeah.
just like, hey, like, I got this gift for you for whatever. Like, I'm horrible at receiving, but I love giving. And I think that's what really propels me at the end of the day. And so I really had to like come accustomed to that too, of like, it's good to make money because then it furthers your mission and furthers your impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Money isn't really money. Money is options.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome. So one of the things I love about your approach, and I think this is connected, right, is we talk so much about building relationships, and overall just the releasing the outcome. I think that's what I often hesitate about sales, because it's so hard, especially when it's your business and your baby, for lack of a better term, to not get attached to that outcome. How do you handle that? I mean, how did you come to that?
I think it's so interesting that we started out with like the story of me, because I think, like, again, I went through a lot of perfectionism. And I think that comes from like not being able to control the outcome, like when all those things are happening to you. So, like, I really did a full 180, and I really had to like learn that I am not in control a lot of the
Mm,
times. Like, I can control my actions, right?
mhm.
And so I think that is the mindset shift we need in sales. And until right now, this conversation, I never knew how much that was interconnected. Like, I could go in and just say like the mindset thing about sales and stuff too, but it truly is like it's all connected. It's, if you really want to bring it home and feel it, it's, you've everyone's been in a situation where you can't control it, but you can control your actions, right? You can control your intention
Mhm.
behind it. So I think, like, when it comes to business and selling and having conversations, that's really my approach to it, is that I can't make someone say yes to me, but I can do everything in my power to like show them I want them to say yes to me, right? So I could have the best content, I can have a beautiful website, I can have the offers that are like ready and primed for them to purchase, that's going to solve their problem, to make it very clear. But I also can be a human and get to know them and have a conversation too. I'm a huge proponent when there are people out there that just really want you to perfect your content, and that's really not the whole story. The real behind the scenes story that people for whatever reason are afraid to talk about is that they actually invite people still, no matter how big the person is or how big the event is. There are people still having active conversations behind the scenes of invitations and working with you and all of the things. And I think that building relationships, it can be a buzzword and a lot of people talk about doing that, but no one really is utilizing it to its fullest extent. And we are still, sometimes people are still relying on scripts, or sometimes people are still relying on manufactured conversations and saying things what they think they should be saying, or forcing someone to like get into a sales conversation with you, when really it is just like getting to know the person. And I think the positive of that though too is like when you do release the outcome of a sale, if you release the outcome of a sale, you're decreasing the chances of other opportunities, because it could be a collaborator, it could be a new biz bestie, it could be maybe someone that you do want to hire, it could be someone that is going to refer you, it could be a collaboration opportunity or a podcast opportunity. And so you truly never know where that relationship is going. So I that's truly why I keep my mind open, because yes, I want people to buy from me at the end of the day, but the one person that I'm talking to, they might not buy from me, but they might refer five people to me because we have a really good relationship, right? So that's really what you need to think about when you're meeting people and networking.
Absolutely. This is now my third year in business, which I feel like I've arrived because I can no longer remember the year that I started.
Oh my
I
God,
think
yes.
I think it was October 2023, but don't even ask me anymore. But I
Mhm,
love that because it's like I do keep track of my career because I love career milestones. I feel like we don't celebrate them enough. But
mhm.
in terms of years in business, I'm just like typing and networking and like figuring out the things, figuring out the marketing things that I didn't in my life, plan on really learning.
Right.
But it is part of the game. So, but you said a really important thing about networking. When I started, like first year and a half, I think, I just packed my calendar with networking and planting seeds, because I know from business, you have to plant seeds, and they may not come to fruition right away, but oftentimes the seeds that you plant early on, especially when it comes to relationships, they'll grow later when it's time. And building those and making it genuine, and not just like, oh, I think this is going somewhere and I want to transact some business out of this. If you're just not approaching it that way, and if someone says, hey, I want to learn more about your services, yes, get on a call. And even if they don't buy, you don't just like ghost them. So I just had several actually success stories of seeds I planted literally a year and a half ago, that when it was the right time for the person, she literally said, send me your pay link. I sent her like two options, one, quick and easy, and then one full mentorship opportunity. And she bought the upgrade. We're working together now. It's like it's really fun because we genuinely like each other. And so it makes business fun and easy, as opposed to, if I was just churning this out, I think I would get really tired. But because I really believe in her business, it's more fun for me. It's working better for her. And, she sent me the best message the other day saying that she couldn't have done this without me, because it's just taken such a mental load off her plate trying to figure it all out on her own. We're working on our first strategic hire. So I can attest, those little seeds that you plant, they grow later, whether it becomes a friend, collaborator, somebody who refers five people to you, which has also happened. I booked like 4 guest spots in other people's communities without asking for it, just because I had people remembered like what I do and what I'm passionate about, and they just January was very busy. It was very fun.
I love that you have those wins, and thank you for sharing those, because that makes me happy. Because I will say too, like I feel like I've always known that. And actually in my corporate world, we like towards the end of my time there, I worked at a bank and they kind of were starting to install like this way of selling. Like it was not as a traditional way anymore. It was really called a sales conversation. And they wanted you to have like this structured conversation to guide the client to open as many as accounts as possible when they're in your seat, right? And so I was frustrated at that, but the principle of it I really liked because it made me realize that I don't have to act from a script, but I could have a conversation with someone. And I noticed that when I had the most success in my banking career, if someone's sitting down and um, having, just wants to open up a savings account. They only have 5 minutes, but as you get to talking with them, then like we're opening up credit cards and all these things because I just started asking them about their day and then we get on their family and all this stuff. So I love that you said that because I knew that from day one in my business, but it took me a really long time to build up my own confidence and to stand out in that way that I knew that having conversations like this and not mass cold DMing people was actually going to be my difference maker because I actually used to be afraid. Like you just mentioned how you planted a seed and a year and a half later someone said yes. I used to be embarrassed that my turnaround time, some clients came back after a year. Or in there's even moments where if I take someone from cold to a client and I track all of that, like I track all of those things. The average time for me would be 90 days. And I know that's really good. But back then, I was too afraid to share that because I thought that was bad because everyone else seemed like they were just like closing, 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 closing. And then on my agency side, we started doing messages for people like that as well, where we were sending the messages and bringing them to a call or something. And every single person would get upset with me, or not upset, but they would just be like kind of like disheartened and like, oh, it really takes that long. I'm like, yeah, from cold to warm, like it like average is 90 days. Sometimes people are just
Mm.
like, heck yes, like come on. But then sometimes it does take a year. And now I'm so confident in that because again, like that's such a good average. And like you said, you keep planting seeds and it builds up. I call it like the snowball effect, right? Like it keeps building and building and building, and then all of a sudden you just have like all the chips fall. But I used for the longest time in my business, and I don't say regret much, but if I were to like give advice to someone or like have a regret or whatever, it would be that I didn't own that early enough because how wonderful is that? Like, how wonderful is that that you were not only remembered, but someone came back to you a year later and you didn't ghost them. And so many people, that's how you work smarter, not harder, right? Because you have then all of these people that you're still talking to and following up, and you have a really good system in place that they're going to say yes to you eventually or refer you. Like, I can't afford her now, but this would be perfect for you to do that. And I do that all the time too to other collaboration partners as well. So, yeah, I love that you brought that up and I love that you have a win because I still like hearing it because I feel like people still think that like messaging someone 5 times is going to equal a sale, but like it's okay if it takes a year, sometimes it takes 2 years.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I was a little desensitized to it because I spent the last, I guess it's now 6 years. Because my two halves of my business are one, a consulting arm where I help fix cultures that are maybe not what they want them to be, and then the other side, of course, is the founder shift, where we're talking about right now, where I help founders build it from scratch right the first time, so that they never need my consulting. But given that, I'm also curious about your thoughts on, your lane of expertise when it comes to people who are really have traction, and now they're in a position where, yeah, my basic expenses are covered. I know where my next client is coming from, and now I need to put in some sort of shift to get to the next level. And that might be next level of money. It might be you stepping away entirely, letting things run without you. Whatever success or the next level looks like for you, either way, there's so much transformation that happens in how your business is built and how you sell and what programs you give and who's on the team, because most people start out, of course, with the intern and the assistant and somebody's niece. And there's nothing wrong with that. But eventually you get to a point where, like, getting 4 hours back a week from this huge expense and having to patchwork all your contractors together, it's taking more time than it's worth. And it's actually keeping you from the scale that you want. So that's where a lot of our listeners are. Um, what are some ways in your expertise that people have been able to scale by shifting those little things? What little things are the ones that people come to you about, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of my clients are too, right? We're in a position where, or our clients are in a position where they know that they need to outsource. Outsource is a thing, right? Like I love that you said that, like someone's niece, someone's cousin. Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring in one of my family members, like to get just like it would be so cool, right? Like the idea is so cool. Or a lot of people hire like the offshore virtual assistants in the Philippines to get started, or interns as well. And I don't think any of that is bad for starting out, but I
Yeah.
think that eventually you realize that you're still either the bottleneck or that problem isn't actually being solved or scaled because they're more of an assistant helping you, still needing you to tell them what to do, when really, if you are scaling, you need to hire for where you want to go. And so I've had so many conversations around that topic specifically in the last year because, you know, I think as a founder, sometimes when your business is successful, making money, it's not about, oh my God, I don't know where my next clients are, or I think my income's gonna be zero next month. You're well beyond that. But you keep hiring people that aren't holding up expectations that of where you want to go, right? You are now demanding more. And so what that looks like is sometimes you do have to pay a little bit more. And that is okay because it is an investment to where you do want to go versus hiring for the right now. So that is a conversation I have a lot of times with people, um, where, oh, I'm going to give this person the sales job, or I'm going to give this person these tasks or whatever. I'm like, okay, but like you keep going through these people and it's like a revolving door of like virtual assistants, right? Or you need to hire another one and another one and another one. It's like, why don't you just hire one person that can take all of that off of your plate and do a very good job versus constantly hiring and firing people that are just going to do subpar work and you're not going to be happy with it, and then you're still a bottleneck and you still have to do it, right? We need someone that not only can understand their tasks and lead themselves, but we do need someone like that has expertise as well, not just like someone's nephew like
Right.
interns, right? But yeah, I think that's such a that is the biggest shift, right? I think not only going from solopreneur to hiring someone, but it's actually like, no, now I'm leading my business, not just like scrapping it all together. Like now I'm shifting into growth, like true growth and scale. And now I really have to think about who I want with me in this phase.
What you said about control earlier is really sticking with me, because this is often one of the big hurdles that
Mm.
I come across when someone is going from, I know how to hire juniors. Like, everyone knows how to, everyone wants, everyone I work with anyway, wants to mentor and give back and wants to kind of do this thing that sometimes is possible if you evaluate for it upfront, right? Like, people want to feel like they can get someone who is a junior or a generalist and then grow them with you. HR hat on for a second. If it's a contractor, you literally can't train them. It's a thing. And we can get back into that more if you want. But I think that the take home point I want to make is so often it's so scary to let go of the control. And I don't mean control in a bad way, but it's scary to let go of the control of you having produced every outcome in your business. How can you possibly trust someone to do it to the level that it needs for you to actually step away? And that's one of the things I maybe you can relate to this either with your own business or what you see in your clients. I'd love to hear. But I mean, part of it really is taking a hard look at what is successful in your business and what's missing in order for you to get to the next level. You know, if you do want to do some sort of, let's say, just for an easy example, a group program as opposed to your one-to-one, whereas your one-to-one stuff has been just the joy and the moneymaker, and how do you translate that? I mean, it's not so easy as just now I'm going to make a group container, because the dynamics are totally different. It's not like you can just say, I'm going to hire a COO into my business and you're going to get someone with that title and it's just going to work. Like, you really have to, the benefit of it, I think, is that you really know your business. And that's such a good thing, because it's not about control. It's about controlling the high level markers, in my opinion, more so than the every detail of every task. Because ultimately what's going to make success is that those big milestone things and the big value adds, and you can create value on the back end, like you said, consolidating all these little patchwork things into something that's cohesive. You would do it for a client, why not for your own team?
Mhm.
Anyway, I want to hear your take on that, either from a client perspective or in your own business. Like, what's that felt like for you?
I definitely it's funny that you brought up control, because I think that I don't have a control issue, but I look back and I don't think control is always synonymous with micromanaging. I think
Agree.
it can be, but and I don't think on the surface, I don't feel that, oh my goodness, my business is going to crash. It's my baby, whatever. I don't trust anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes the actions say something different. So maybe on a
Right.
subconscious level, that is. So that's something that I think I have always struggled to believe too about myself, is that it's not about like micromanaging or whatever, because I don't consider myself a micromanager with the people on my team, but I do think that it takes me a while to trust them sometimes. So that I like that part. But I recently heard a quote and it just like really hit me in the feels. And it was from another peer of mine who is struggling with a lot of like revolving door of assistants and contractors, and they are not focusing on the higher level tasks of scaling their business. And this is such a good reminder when we're in this season where all of a sudden a contractor dips or someone ghosts you, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in the weeds again and you need to do all the work and hire someone else. Someone said, let the fires burn. And just you're focusing on like you get so focused on the main thing that's going to move your business forward and let all the other fires burn around you, right? We spend so much
Mm-hmm.
time, putting out fires, right? Like everyone says that, putting out fires, need to help this and do this and all this stuff. It's like when you actually take the time to just let the fires burn, I was like, ooh, that's a really good thing, because at the end of the day, do those actually matter? Yes, I'm sure there are some instances where they are emergencies, but I think we also sometimes get too caught up in our day to day where is it really that important? And I don't know if you can relate to this, but I actually just had a client not too long ago. She went on vacation for a week and she's in the middle of like planning her wedding and she's starting a new business. And she came back from vacation. She's like, what did I even do all day? Right? Like she's so busy before she leaves, has all these business things, has all these clients, doing all this work for 8 hours, comes back home from vacation where she like took time off and she's like, what was I don't even know what I was doing. half the things that she was doing probably weren't as important as she thought they were, right? When we're so into it from day to day to day, something happens that takes us out. And then we realize that, like, oh yeah, like those things aren't, why am I doing those things? Like, is it really moving my business forward? So that's always so interesting too, because I know I've had that happen in the past too, where I've gone on vacation, or I took like a little bit of a maternity leave after my daughter was born, and I came back and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm working 4 hours today and I don't even know what I have to do. I'm just gonna sit in front of the computer. Like I don't know what I'm doing. So I think that was a side note. But yeah, I think the sometimes I think overall we have these little tasks that we think are so important, especially when we're showing up day in and day out, when really sometimes they're not. And so that quote of just letting all the fires burn was really powerful for me.
I love that. It's so true because I think that's really what I mean about control too. It's not necessarily that you're trying to control other people, but you know the business the best, and so you can do things fast, right? And so you tend to get sucked into this vortex of it's faster if I do it. It's you go on autopilot a lot, and it's hard to think about, oh, taking a break, unless it is something like vacation space. Mental space is so important, and one thing that a more slightly more senior, and we're not even talking about co-founder level, like slightly more senior specialist, 5 years as opposed to like a junior generalist type person, makes such a difference, because you actually do get to say, hey, I can't be here for whatever reason, like I'm sick, like can you take over, and the business keeps running without your constant involvement. And although that seems weird at first, I think to a lot of people, it's like, whoa, is this really I just spent the last 5 years 24/7 changing my laptop. What do you mean I can go on vacation? It's kind of a mind-blowing experience, but after you experience it, you don't go back.
And I think another like just bonus of that, because we hear all the time to create space for us founders just to ideate and to have a clear headspace. And even if you haven't done that, I would just invite you to think about like when you're in the shower and everyone's like, oh my God, I need shower notes and I need my phone and I need to like, and I have my best ideas in the shower. It's like, well, why is that? Because you're not doing anything else other
Right.
than bathing yourself. Your mind is going crazy. Or like sometimes I know for me, like I have my best thoughts when I'm driving to the gym in the morning. And what am I doing? I'm just like listening to music and doing nothing else. And my 20-minute car ride to and from the gym, that's when I have my best ideas, right? Because I'm working out and whatever is pumping my brain, and I'm thinking of that, right? So if you have those moments throughout your day where you're like, oh my God, I have the best ideas when I do this, or when I go on vacation, or when I'm XYZ, and not in front of your computer, it's, well, why do you think that is? It's because you are clearing your calendar and you're doing all of these things where you're not so inundated with just like the stuff that's not moving your business forward. And I think what's huge, something that I realized, especially over the last couple of years, is it's okay to put on your calendar that you're not working. Like, not that you're not working, but just like space for you to just not talk to anybody, right? Like, and that was
Yes.
hard for me to do. And I have an operations person that I work with, and she recently told me I needed to shift my mindset around this. I said, yeah, I block my calendar for my day off to then work, right? Like my day off from calls is what I was calling a day off. And I was doing it to like catch up on work. And she's like, I need you to change your whole mindset around this, because that's not productive to think that way, right? Like, oh, your day is off, but then like you're also working. It's like, no, this is just a different kind of work.
Hmm.
And I think when we I like what you said about like junior, like even having someone who's junior that can just like, hey, take this. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to also just go on vacation in order for that to happen, right? Like
Right.
that should just be the normal, where they can take over and make little decisions without involving you in everything too. And I think that's the ultimate, sometimes that's the ultimate flex, is when you actually create that boundary for yourself. That's almost like the next level. In order to scale, like you need that time
Mhm.
to have that, to let the business run, but then you are kind of behind the scenes thinking of what's next.
Mhm.
And we shouldn't have to rely on a major medical event or having a baby and maternity leave or
Mhm.
vacation to, let that then happen almost like reactive in a way.
I love that you said reactive, because so much of the work that I do, and it sounds like you too, has been about how do we shift this to be more proactive? How do we react, so to speak, without the fire? How do we group all the fires together and solve the real problem instead of constantly reacting to the symptoms? It's hard because sometimes you do feel so busy that you can't take that pause. So I love that you called out that time. It is so important. And it's the main thing about bringing anyone, and to your point, yes, even a junior, even a generalist, even a VA, if it's well placed, and assigned to the right things. If you can't let anything go, then it's either a hiring problem or it's it can be an inner work problem. But really look at how you hired that person. I'm curious to hear more about your team too, and how you went about developing that. Is that something that you figured out on your own, how to build an effective team? What are some of the lessons that you learned as you went?
I think that comes from I have like 5 years manager experience at the bank that I worked with. I was an assistant branch manager for 5 years. And so I had a lot of um, work in hiring and resumes and things like that. I feel very strong into what I'm looking for. And I think I don't know, sometimes I guess it could be harder, but I think that it's easy for me to kind of like put together who I'm looking for in the roles and training. Even from like any job that I had, I was always the one training employees. I was always the one that caught on quicker. So I was always like needing to train and make sure that everyone was kind of good, good in their role or whatever. And so I think I have a lot of experience in the corporate world from that, which I think a lot of people don't have that. I have experience managing a team. I have experience with hiring. I have experience with letting people go. And so I do have expectations, and I am very aware of my manager style when it comes from, the corporate world. However, I do know that your own business, it is a little different for sure, because you have like guidelines, right? And people coach you on how to be a manager. But I did notice what I do want and what I don't want as a manager from my corporate world. When I hired people, I definitely hired a few VAs again just to help me with very simple tasks. But now, over the last few years, I think what really catapulted me into hiring the people that I have now in place and the contractors I have in place. I was hiring in the sense of like I did want to take a maternity leave, and I actually really prepared for that for 4 or 5 months because I did want that time. And I think a little bit in the back of my head too, though, I'm always like maybe a little bit of a doomsday prepper because of what I went through medically. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. This is my first baby, and who knows what's going to happen. What if the baby's not okay? I really wanted to have things in place and be organized. So then I wasn't just having a VA come in, but I was having, people that also had their own agencies where I was contracting out my clients, to where not only were their tasks done, but they were actually managed while I was gone.
Mm.
Um, and I had a couple people who were previous clients of mine that also went on to build their own businesses. And so I brought those people in to help me during that time. And one of them is still with me. She has her own agency as well, and she's still a contractor of mine, but she has worked with me on 20 different projects at this point. We've been together, I think, like 3 years. Another really good opportunity, though, and this is someone I have on my team now, she is a previous client of mine as well. She used to be a business coach, used to be a messaging coach as well. She is very good at copywriting. She just doesn't desire to build her own business by herself at this point, and really is suited better for being a contractor, but can do more and understand more about business coaching. And she, like, she made sales on her own. She had a successful business. It's just the stage in life that she's in now, she would rather be a number two for somebody. And so she's, over the last few months, she's worked for me and a few other people. And again, it has that experience level and where she can take on more, and you don't have to. I know you mentioned training, right? Like, you don't have to show them how to do things,
Right.
where she can just kind of come in. She knows how to use Instagram. She knows how to talk to people. She knows how to sell. She knows how to write content. She knows the concepts, right? So looking for someone that can be brought in for that. That was a huge thing for me I went through last year, was that I really needed to hire someone of that caliber. And it just so happened that she was kind of taking a step down from her business. And it was such a good fit because, for one, she was my client at one point. And so a lot of the things she learned were through me, but she also knows how to do things on her own and bring in her expertise to things as well. So I, you know, I don't like the idea of, I don't think, where my business is going now, and similar to a lot of my clients, is it's almost like you can't afford to hire people who just take on a couple tasks now. Right.
Yeah.
And that's another mindset shift I think a lot of us need to make, is that surface level, yes, you can afford someone who's, you know, an intern or just starting out, maybe charging $20-25 an hour for maybe like an hour a week, right? But there's a lot that's almost to the point where you can't afford that. And I'm not talking about money, but it's time as well.
Hmm.
And when we actually bring in someone who is a little bit more expensive, that's going to save you time and hopefully save you money in the long run, because then it's so much work to bring on someone every single time. And even just to look for the right person too.
I'm having so many overlapping thoughts about that because I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm curious, what do you think is the difference between being a corporate manager and building a team from scratch as an entrepreneur?
I think I go back to the control thing, right?
Mm.
Because I didn't have that in the corporate world, right? I just had to do it. Um, we think about control again, and maybe, there is a little bit of that where it's like, oh yeah, maybe my business is my baby and I'm worried to give this up. But I think with the corporate world, I don't, I didn't have the finals as an assistant manager. I didn't have the final say in hiring and firing people. Where this, I feel, not only do I have the final say, but I'm also just like, I want to go deeper than maybe, just like interviewing someone once and looking at their resume. It's, again, goes back to the building relationship aspect of it, culture fit. And I think I will say, like, a lot of times corporations talk about culture fit, but who knows if that's just a buzzword, or, if it's actually something that, bigger corporations do. I think culture fit is huge. I think that someone on paper could be perfect, but I don't know. There's also something too that I would always do at the bank when I would look at resumes, is I would always be interested to interview the people that weren't perfect on paper. And
Me
those,
too.
yeah, and those people end up being the best. And I think I've always, personally for me, I think I like having underdog energy, and I like being unassuming and not knowing what I'm fully not having people know what I'm fully capable of. So I like coming in, being quiet and unassuming. So I kind of like look for people like that too, where they might not look the way you think that they should look, or or have the success, or sharing their success as big as you think they should. Um, so I guess like that's always, I like giving people a chance to shine when they weren't, when they actually aren't the most obvious choice, I guess.
I love that you called that out. I used to, when I worked in healthcare, I used to love hiring people who worked at like Walgreens,
Yeah.
or even less related, somebody who was a call center phone
Mhm.
operator, because I know that if you can handle that, then you will find, not only will you be able to do the job, but you will love it here.
Mhm.
Because it's like we dealt with real change and transformative things. Okay, last question, because I know we are at time, but what is culture to you? Because I know, like you said, I think most of, for example, when everyone's like, you have to return to office because of culture, and that's not, like, that is a total misconception of what culture is. But before I come in with my definition, because I certainly, this is what I do, so I have a thought, but I want to hear your interpretation too, because it is when you become an entrepreneur, you understand culture in a completely different way. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I think it really aligns with values and
Mhm.
expectations, and everyone's
Mhm.
going to be different, right? I think that I don't want to micromanage, but I do value communication. So
Mhm.
communication would be a huge thing, right? And if someone doesn't fit that communication value, and I have to keep chasing them around, like that would be an example of, then you don't fit the culture. Like I value communication. I actually overly communicate to my clients, and I probably talk too much when it comes to like my contractors and things too. But I think communication's huge. I think privacy. I think that being a decent human, um, but also like taking time off and respecting boundaries. And that goes both ways, right? Like, I know that I will try my best to respect how someone actually learns. Whether sometimes I have people that like hearing voice notes versus a long type message. So I take into consideration with that. Um, but I think it goes both ways, where to respect my time, to respect the channel of communication, but also just making sure that we're always doing a good job. And, if you're sick, you're sick, but please communicate that to me, not ghost me, right? Or, that kind of thing. So I think I'm sure there's so many other ones, but I think with me, that is something huge, that I like to be transparent and I like to communicate. And those are two big sticking points with me.
What I love the most about what you said, and there's a lot that I love about what you said, but the main thing is that what you're describing to me is exactly what I try to talk about with clients, where yes, okay, yes, we can do a values exercise, but unless the values that we define are not just on a poster and they're guiding your actions and guiding your decisions, then we shouldn't do the exercise. Like,
Yes.
let's talk about how actions and decisions are done in the organization, because there is nothing else that culture is. There is no happy hour that will substitute for how actions and decisions are made and shaped in your organization. So
Hmm.
sounds like you've got it. And I love to find entrepreneurs who really get that, because I think that is the future of business. It's no more of this reductive stuff and, extracting value from people. It's really about additive. What can we add to the world? What can our culture add to people's lives? Like, work
Hmm.
doesn't have to be this thing that we suffer through just to get home at the end of the day. And I think we're seeing a bit of a hold tight to this old way of, and it's not actually time to do that. So absolutely love finding business people who have the right idea of what values are and why they are so important, because Yeah, exactly. They really guide all the actions and decisions in a culture. So, Lauren, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I had so much fun talking with you. We'll have to catch up soon, but tell our audience how they can stay in touch with you.
So I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me at Lauren Najar. I post all the time over there. But you can also find my website, laurennajar.com. I'm also on LinkedIn at, Lauren Najar. Search me on LinkedIn and we can chat on there. I'm very active in the DMs too. So if you have any questions or want to get to know each other a little bit more, feel free to send me a DM.
Awesome. And you have a challenge running?
I do. I do. So I have a 30-day sales and visibility challenge. It's right on my website. You can download right on the first page. This gives you 30 tasks for 30 days. And we've had some people, book some free calls just from this free challenge. So if you just do one task once a day, I promise you, you're going to have some momentum. It's really popular and it's fun to do. So you can get it there.
Fantastic. All right. Talk soon. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.